This is an introduction or overview of the Mongo oplog exporter. Here we have the GitHub overview introduction webpage. And here we describe the environment that we are interested in. We have a remote and a local environment, but it could be a remote and a remote environment. It doesn't matter. In any case, we have a remote Mongo cluster. This is a complex cluster that uses TLS, going into a very simplified environment where we have a local Mongo cluster that has no encryption or anything, and a simplified database with a single replica set name. The application oplog exporter, as well as an external laptop or perhaps other device or the same VM, doesn't matter, that has REST control interface over the oplog exporter. This oplog exporter app has a REST interface so that you can query help. You can do other curl commands against it to control the filter of the information that's going from this environment to this environment. What we've done previously or subsequent to this synchronization, we've done a Mongo dump on here most likely, and a Mongo restore on this, and then we started the exporter up to make sure that the data between this environment and this environment is synchronized. To go a little bit further, we will look at the repo that we've cloned. The bin directory contains one script. This is used for the Docker file, so we don't need to concern ourselves with that right now. There's also a certs directory which I have created. This is a temporary directory. It's not part of the project. It contains the cert and key for this environment here. It can be somewhere else. It does not have to be inside the project. There is also docs, docs directory. Contains images and videos for the README. There's an etc directory which you will want to familiarize yourself. This is the JSON objects that you will need to update. The first two objects you probably won't have to do much with unless you're particular to like making sure that this is unique. However, the first object is memory only. It gets, when the JSON object gets stored in memory, this gets set to stopped and then probably started right away. Then the server, this defines the HTTPS REST interface object that controls the oplog exporter from a REST API interface point of view. It can be HTTPS or HTTP. If it's HTTP, you only need to specify the port number. If it's HTTPS, then you will need to specify the certain key you want to use. We've provided a default set as well as a default set for the JSON Web Token that can be used along with its secret. And then, more importantly, there's a source and also a target object. For sake of brevity here, we've made them the same since we can switch back and forth between the two for testing purposes in this environment. We have a simplified, both the source and the target are in an array. So we have a simplified local host environment. The local database is the database where the oplog resides. This is important to understand because it could be different for your installation. And if that is the case, you will have to modify this. Namespaces are the namespaces and filters that you want to use. In other words, the data that you are willing, that you want to replicate between the source and the target. And then we have a simplified URL key value JSON pair here. The form takes the IPs for it does substitution, so it will take this, it will substitute it into here. We'll take the port, we'll substitute it into here. Then it will take the database, substitute it into here, as well as a replicate set and substitute it into last. The same is essentially true for the more complicated TLS form that is shown below that. And as you can see, again, it's more complicated. There's more IPs involved, which gets substituted into here, etc., as well as the authentication type, which gets put into here, etc. You also have to make sure that you download or make the CA and the certs available to the application if you have a complicated TLS cluster configuration, as we do here. Again, the target is essentially defined as the same, and you can switch between the two. The source is, or it contains the JavaScript where all the action occurs. The oplog app JavaScript contains the working core of the application, the REST functions for the HTTPS, the index. I believe this is just for the Docker implementation, and probably doesn't need to really be, you really don't need to be concerned about that too much. The test directory should contain Mocha tests, which it doesn't right now. We haven't uploaded any, but it does contain the certs, or at least the CRT and the CSR and key files that we created for the HTTPS interface. This is the end of the overview. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.